let us start with yesterday's newspaper. Now, if you see yesterday's newspaper, 2-3 important things. On the first page, the Women's Bill has now been tabled actually. Now, this is something that has happened number of times. I think I have seen this 3 times in my career as just a student. That just before the session is going to get over, the Parliament brings in the new women's bill, and then the bill lapses and nothing is done. So at least I have seen this twice in my life. Now I'm, because of my past experience, I'm not personally very hopeful that whether this will be implemented or not. In any ways, the any serious implementation of this women reservation of 33% reservation will only happen in the 2029 elections, because what is being said is that the delimitation exercise that is supposed to happen in 2026. So once that is complete, then the government will probably bring this thing. But apart from that, what we can see is that women have become a really big voting power, in terms of there are a lot of women-oriented welfare schemes, and then they have become a part of the social architecture of politics as well. And that can be seen with respect to these number of schemes that the government of India runs with respect to women. For example, the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, where the focus was on toilet buildings for the safety of women, Beti Bachao, 33% quota, and then Ujjwala, triple talaq. All of these shows that this new welfareism in the politics has its focus on the women, because women are also huge voting share in the market. So if you see this on page number 4, I would say, yes. So if you see this, Beti Bachao, yes. So make sure that you know all these schemes. So one is that you wait for the India Yearbook for these schemes, but this is something that you will be using in your essays, you will be using in your ethics, you will be using in your current affairs, governance. So most of the women-led schemes and the women development schemes, especially the schemes of social justice ministry, the schemes of women, these are 2 ministries that you can go to and check out all their schemes and then write down a few pointers about them. So this is something that will add on to your answer writing. So here you have mentioned, they have mentioned about the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, which is extended this year in terms of the 200 rupees. If you remember, the 200 rupees credit that the government is giving, plus you also have an extension of Ujjwala Yojana to right now from 9 crore to 9 crore 75 lakhs. Then Jal Jeevan Mission, again fetching water by 2024, that has helped. Then there is another Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, which has improved the child sex ratio. Then Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, this was earlier called as Indira Gandhi, some kind of Indira Gandhi scheme. It was there, Matrita Yojana, I think it was said, but now it is Matru Vandana Yojana, cash benefits to pregnant and lactating women. Then you have women reservation bill that is there. You have the UCC, which basically enumerates the social evil of triple talaq. So all of these measures have already been taken by the government, so you can read about it. Now but this is a lot of things are political in nature. Let's move on to things which are much more substantial. Maybe you can read on page number 8. On page number 8, maybe you can read this: 2 house panels on women quota. Government should decide quota within quota, review after 15 years. So you can read about the Geeta Mukherjee committee that examined the bill in 1996, and the Jayanti Natarajan committee in 2010. So what was the discussion there, time period, and then whether should there be a quota within quota? For example, in women, within the women's quota, should there be another quota of OBC, ST, and ST women or not? So these are the other developments. Although not very important, but still you can give it a read. I'm not dealing it with you right now, but you can maybe give it a read if you really want. Let's get on to the crux of matter. Let's get on to the editorial page. Now, Topic of interest. Now, this is an important news with respect to what has been happening with EPFO. Now, and this is important for people who are giving this year's Indian economics interview as well. Now, what has happened is that EPFO announces these interest rates in the beginning of every year. Now, suppose you're announcing a rate of 8.5%, and the market condition is such that the interest rate should only be 7% or 6%. What is happening? What is happening is you are paying extra interest than what the market is basically allowing you. And this is a practice that was done by EPFO, and that is why you see in some years EPFO is running in a surplus and the other years EPFO is running in a deficit. So this article talks about that the fiscal marksmanship. This is called as fiscal marksmanship, when you are projecting something and you don't hit the target, and in fact you don't even come near to the target. That is called poor fiscal marksmanship. So the fiscal marksmanship of the Employee Provident Fund organization is very varying, and some year it has a huge surplus, the other years it has a deficit, and that has to do with the interest rates that that EPFO is announcing. And now what the government has done is that the EPFO has been instructed not to declare interest rate at the beginning of the financial year without the consent of the finance ministry. So finance ministry needs to be consented before giving out the interest rates. Then in the and this is the other area that, as I told you in the second paragraph, that EPFO announces a higher interest rate in line with which is not considered in line with the market scenario. For example, in 2020-21, it announced an interest rate of 8.5%, whereas the 10-year GSEC, which is the safest form of investment, had fallen to 6.23%. The SBI was offering 5.4%. So this leads to a loss by EPFO. So, but at the same point of time, Employee Provident Fund forms a very important part of the social security architecture of, especially of the government employees. Therefore, the risk reward matrix of investment portfolio needs to be carefully analyzed. Where is EPFO investing? For example, in the last few years, EPFO has been investing in risky assets such as ILFS, which was under crisis, Diwan Housing, which was again under crisis, Reliance Capital. So their risk and reward measure also needs to be calibrated, whether they are taking too much excessive risk to give these excess returns or not. Because ultimately you're talking about the social security of a lot of people who are investing their provident fund money into this particular organization. So you can read about this particular article. Then the next article is at home in the world. Now we already know that UNESCO has given the cultural heritage tag to Shanti Niketan, but at the same point of time, Shanti Niketan is besieged with a lot of issues with respect to its governance. If you've been reading the newspaper over the last 1 year, there has been a number of clashes at Shanti Niketan, where you have the Vishwa Bharati University with respect to the kind of clash between the state government and the vice chancellor, because the vice chancellor of all these universities are appointed by the chancellors, and the chancellor in case of Vishwa Bharati University is the prime minister. So you have a direct confrontation between the central government and the state government, even with respect to this particular university. And the idea of Shanti Niketan, the idea of Vishwa Bharati was that you should come above, you should move above nationalities. You should come above all these politics and nationalities and think as a common earth dwelling individual. And there should not be any boundaries, and that was the philosophy of Rabindranath Tagore. But very recently, if you see, what has happened is that Vishwa Bharati has constructed a campus, has constructed a wall around itself. Earlier there never used to be a wall around Vishwa Bharati. Now they've constructed a wall which symbolizes something, that you're trying to create these artificial architectures, which was not the intention of the founder of the organization. So this is what the article says. The Tagore's experiment in education in Shanti Niketan was entrenched in his belief that only recognition of diversity could help overcome the constraints of parochiality. He set up Partha Bhavan, a residential school, in 1901, and envisioned a global Gurukul, Vishwa Bharati, set up in 1921 after Gandhiji's non-cooperation movement. And he was also expressed dissatisfaction with the idea of nationalism also. And Shanti Niketan was built on the idea of bringing down walls, building bridges between nature and the world. And the motto was, and you can remember this motto as well. You can probably write it in your some part of your answers. Unhindered by territorial imagination of a nation state. When you are thinking about global commons. So, for example, environment. For example, global seas. Or if you catch something which with respect to global commons, you use this particular phrase of Vishwa Bharati, Yatra Vishwam Bhavitika Nidam, because everyone else will be using Vasudev Kutumbakam. Everyone will be using it. Don't use it because it will not make you different from any other aspirant. So use this. This would be a good ending point or a good starting point for your answers. And then in 2017, even the RSS had talked about removal of Tagore's thought from nationalism. And in 2020, the decision of the university administration to build a boundary wall to distinguish university from its other surroundings. This goes against to its philosophy of openness. So a good article for you will give you good material for other things as well. Then I'll come to PM Vani because this is an absolute repeat article of what we had done some months ago. But let's talk about China's democracy. And even before that, education. This is another interesting quotation that I found. Education must not simply teach work. It must also teach life. So education at times, I personally feel, and recently I've read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think the more educated you are and the more specialized you're closing down a lot of things in your mind. So real teaching is actually beyond books, and that I understood by reading that particular book. So maybe you can so things like these, folks, things like these, you can probably ponder upon this, and when you have nothing in mind, if you have 15 minutes just in the metro, think about this particular line, and then think if you can write an essay on this. What are the kind of points that you can write? What are the different kinds of uh, uh, I would say that you remember, you write them down in a copy, just like I used to do it. I used to write all of these quotations down. I used to also write where I can use it and the name, and I used to revise them whenever I used to add a new quotation. I used to revise from number 1 quotation to the number 100 quotation. So it is multiple revisions, and it is not that will help you. Only if you write essays and if you start using them, then you will remember them. Without usage, this is complete waste of time. I am telling you. If you're not using a quotation in any of your answers, using a quotation basically means that recalling your memory, thinking about it, and then producing it when it is required. If you're able to do that, then it's useful. If you're not able to use, if it's just in back of your mind, and if you're not able to use that armory, what's the point? It's like having if you're in a fight, if you're a gun, if you don't know how to use it, then there's no point. You'll be only be using it as maybe a brick just to throw it at someone. So this is an arsenal with you, and if you really want to use it, you have to use it in practice as well. So and I keep telling them, if you're serious about 2024 attempt, you need to start thinking about essays. You need to start thinking about ethics. Ethics essay and optional. Focus on these 1,000 marks. Get 550. No one on earth can stop you from becoming an IAS. Now let's talk about China's democracy in question. And a different kind of an article. I don't know whether this will be useful in civils or not, but kind of give me a good perspective of stuff. So first of all, it talks about the fact that China has been through a lot, and now what this author says is that what we are seeing is that China we have huge scientists that are there, huge number of scientists in different fields. For example, physicists. It talks about a particular university which has 150 physicists, which is outnumbering even the heights of MIT. But at the same point of time, there is a talk about China's democracy here, and what is being said is that being democratic is a virtue in itself. For example, if you see the last this thing, that China has gained its might in economy. The same has done in Saudi Arabia, but is Saudi Arabia respected throughout the world? So that is something that you need to question. So with democracy comes a lot of respect. India might not be as rich as China, but at the same point of time, at global forums, India is much more respected because of the fact that it can wear this tag of democracy on its arm. So therefore, the highest international respect still goes to the countries which are not just rich and powerful, but also democratic. Therefore, we find that Saudi Arabia is accommodated but not respected. Then, but the idea is that democracy. So democracy has become a great currency of international respect in modern times, and this is what Marx had said, that the dictatorship of the proletariat. Now, the Chinese have started using the term which is now called as socialist democracy, and that is how they're seeing this. And any kind of threat, it's not a democracy. It is a single party rule, and anything that kind of challenges the single party, the Communist Party, it is not accepted in China at all. Be it the student rebellion in 1989, or the clipping of the wings of Jack Ma in 2020. But one of the ways that people can come and people can in China, how you can basically come up with dissent is that you tell on social media, or you tell that we follow the communist, we believe in the communist ideals, but due to corruption, the lower order of the Communist Party is not working well, and that is how revolutions are brought within the and that is how democracy is there within the setup of China, was what is being discussed. That the communist monopoly of power should not be weakened, and that is the idea of Chinese democracy. Then interesting line that I found here was that Russo had said once. Russo has written a book by the name of the Social Contract. You can pick up stuff from there again, folks, from these philosophers, from these political thinkers. You can pick up some stuff and use it in your answers as well. So Russo in the Social Contract has said that the people of England regard themselves as free, but they are grossly mistaken, because democracy only visits them one time in 5 years. Once elected, then it is nothing short of an auto. So this is what Russo had said, and Russo instead preferred that instead of elections, we should have constant regular meeting and participation with people at small polities. For example, we should have these gram panchayats instead of these huge national election. We should have these gram panchayats, gram sabhas, where people can participate without fear, and then make decisions. But that is not the case with China. Again, they do not have free press or watchdogs monitoring the participation. Who is participating in their mini elections, or mini bodies? That is something that is not there, and something that needs to be seen. So in the end, it says that there are still geopolitical tensions that are there. But is China a real democracy? Can China really get that space on the intellectual table? Depends on how free China can become. So it's an interesting article, not very clear with respect to civil services, but something here, something there you can use in your answers. Then the next article, a win-win for all, PM Vani. Now this is an exact same article that I had taught I think a couple of months ago, written by the same person, R.S. Sharma, who was also the chairman of TRI. Now what this article, where you can use a number of stuff in this article, is that India's digital program has main visions of connectivity, software and services on demand, and digital empowerment of citizens. Things that you can easily mug up and remember. This is what it talks about. But it also gives you some data points. These are important data points, folks, which you can use in other places. For example, whenever you have this idea of e-governance, you can use this e-governance data point and show the digital divide. That where is the problem. Now, India's per capita data consumption stands at a whopping 19.5 GB per month, which is more than that of US and China combined. That much of data that we have using, and at the world's cheapest rate, by the way. But at the same point of time, there is a huge urban-rural divide. And whenever you are mentioning this urban-rural divide, whenever you are mentioning about that digital empowerment is not there, or there are issues in e-governance, you can use this example of PM Vani. Now, what is PM Vani? PM Vani is a local, basically interoperable public Wi-Fi. So all of the public suppliers can come together, or the government can come up with this Wi-Fi system where people can buy these pocket size 5 GB for or 10 GB data for 5 rupees, 10 rupees. So it's like just like a PCO, but PCO of internet, which where people can buy these small packets of internet and then use it at their home, use it in their phones. So think of them as public data offices or interoperable hotspots, uh, and this is not new, as we had understood earlier that the cellular operators of association of India had given the commitment that there was no need of Vani, but still none of them came up with these hotspots. Then this was again taken up in 2020, but then because of COVID, this was kind of stopped. But now this emerging that we need to come up with PM Vani, because the kind of help that it can give to business opportunities and aggregators, unbundling of internet distribution at the last mile. So you have to just rely on Airtel and Jio. You can even the government of India can even provide use multiple sources and then provide internet at a cheaper cost. India's broadband connection at home is one of the lowest at the home, and this can help you with that. And then it can help nano entrepreneurs, it can help small shops, it can help number of people in this space for being digitally empowered. So good article for you read, but something that we have already seen. Then corridor to a new world. Now, corridor to a new world. If you've been reading the newspapers in the last 1 week, you must be knowing that during the G20 we have signed this India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. Now, this article talks about this economic corridor that will have integration of Asia with Middle East with Europe, and it will be based on multiple kinds of architecture. So you have this road architecture which will lead to the Gulf, and then road and railways architecture that will reach to the Gulf, and then from the Gulf to Israel, and from Israel through ports to Europe, and from ports to different ports and different areas of Europe. So it has multiple streams. The first line will be of roads and railways from India to the Arabian Peninsula. The second kind of this thing will be from Arabian Peninsula reaching to the shores of Europe via Israel, via these ports of Israel, especially Haifa port. Haifa port is also very important in this respect, because it is now going to be controlled by Adani, and then from there to the rest of the world. Particular article talks about the fact that how this kind of mimics the ancient route that was taken by the number of rich merchants. But at the same point of time, it talks about that this will be integration of Asia, Gulf, Arabian Gulf, and Europe, and it kind of counters the Belt and Road Initiative of China. So you should see it in that context, that this is an alternative to that as well. Then you can read this particular article. It talks about number of ports that are going to be linked in Gulf, in Maharashtra, and then in Israel. One of the best things about this particular measure is that the railway network that is going to be used, all of the railway network throughout this particular route is standard railway. So you don't need to, basically, if it's a narrow gauge or a broad gauge, what happens is that if the railway gauge is different, then you have to first unload everything and then reload everything. So the best thing about this is that the corridor really takes in uniformity of the railway network on the standard gauge, unlike other regions where the consignment gets delayed because of transshipment necessitated by change in these gauge systems. Then apart from that, because this was signed in G20, you would have the blessings of the World Bank as well. You would also have the blessing if World Bank and IMF are there. Then you have the backing of the private sector as well. So I don't think that the financing of this particular entire route should be a major issue, and it gives an important incentive and dividends in terms of integration of India, West Asia, and Europe on a collective part of growth. So you can read this article now. This is a decent one. Then, if you really want to read something, because this was with respect to a senior of mine, Sabya Sachi, I was interested to read it, so I read this particular article. If you really want to read it, you can, but not very important from an examination point of view. But people who are giving the economics services interview, I would suggest that you read this article, because you might be asked a question with respect to failing Ashoka. I would have definitely asked you a question if either you were from Ashoka or if you are an economics student, if you've read about this. So maybe you can give it a read. There's nothing really on the world page. Let's move on to the explained page. So this is one article that you can read. 27-year journey nears an end. Now this number of women that are part of the Lok Sabha are also given. 17th Lok Sabha has the highest number of 78 women, which represents 14.36. And this particular article talks about that how the women reservation bill has been inserted, has been tried to be passed number of times. For example, the Constitution 81st Amendment Bill 1996 introduced these Article 330 and 332 A, but again that had lapsed. Then apart from that, there's a number of debates and number of arguments that there should be some kind of reservation within reservation. Even within women reservation, there should be reservation for SC, ST and OBC women. That's another area of. Then the second attempt was basically done by NDA government in 2004, and again this bill was lapsed, and then Vajpayee government again tried it in 1999, and then UPA government tried it in 2004 and 2008, and then in 2010 again in the this bill was included, but again this was not passed. So basically this particular article talks about that how a number of times, at least 3-4 times, this women reservation bill has been introduced but never been passed, despite the fact that under the 73rd and the 74th Constitution Amendment Act, we already have reservation at local bodies, 50% reservation at local bodies. So this is one thing. As Parliament on 75, the story of its backbone, the Secretariat. Maybe if you want to read it, you can give it a read. I was interested in reading about role of Vittalbhai Patel, who was the first elected speaker of the Central Assembly. So I read the first part of the article. But if you really want to read it, you can probably give it a read. But I don't think it's very important from the examination point of view, except for the Vittalbhai Patel part. Then coming to page number 17, folks. 2-3 things that you need to read. Stabilizing core inflation. So core inflation, you should know what core inflation is, and the core inflation is stabilizing. So while the inflation has gone down from 7.44% to 6.38%, still above the red line of 6%. But apart from that, the core inflation had slowed down to 4.9%, which is under that range, which is the inflation that you can control. But at the same point of time, the other part of the inflation, which is not in your hands, is also being increased, is also increasing because of the hardening of crude oil prices that is happening, and apart from the other factors that are there. Now, and the vegetable prices, of course, we already know that is not part of core inflation. Then IRDAI plans to create a committee for Bima Sugam platform. Now, what is this Bima Sugam? Bima Sugam is that it's the kind of an Amazon. It's a marketplace for insurance. So whatever kind of insurance that you want to buy, you can go to Bima Sugam platform. It's still not ready. It will be made, and you can type out I need insurance for my house, and all the vendors throughout the country that are there for housing with all these terms will be there. You want health insurance, you want house insurance, fire insurance, whatever insurance that you want to buy, this particular platform will be one-stop shop for all your insurance needs. And now project consultant Amarchand Mangladas has also been appointed for the implementation of this particular scheme. So you can read this, and that's about it, folks. That's about it from our side. From what we will do is tomorrow we'll meet again at 5 a.m. folks. I'm trying to shift the time closer to 5 a.m. so that we can wind up by 6, so that you have sufficient amount of time for other things. So with this, I am hoping that most of you will send me your updates with respect to your developments that are there, and I will see you tomorrow at 5 a.m. Thank you very much, folks. See you. Bye bye.